Okay, for tools, nice and simple. We're going to want a drill, some drill bits, tape measure, pair of scissors, sharp knife, pencil, and if you've got it, a pair of digi-calipers. You don't need them, but they're quite handy. And that's it. For the actual staff itself, these are the bits we're going to need. On the end we've got a couple of routing bolts. They are M8 thread, not that it makes any difference. Some electrical tape, some aluminium tape, some Kinesiology tape, which you don't need, but it's quite handy for making the hand grip in the centre, and obviously a piece of wood itself. The wood is a pine dowel. It's 21mm diameter and it's 1.5 meters long. So that's about just over 3/4 of an inch width in old money and about 5 foot long. So the first thing to do is to find the centre of the staff. So quite simply, take the tape measure, run it down the length. It's exactly 5 foot or 1.53. So we'll take it 2.5 feet, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's our centre point. We'll just check that with a balance. Close enough. Next we need to mark out the centre section for the grip tape in the middle. There's no hard and fast rules for this, it depends on what you want. We're going to go with 7 inches either side of the centre, so 14 inches in total. So find the centre, it's there, 7 that way, up to 14, which is 7 that way. And that's then going to form our grip in the centre. So then before we get too carried away marking the staff, putting tape around it and that kind of thing, we're going to sink our bolts into the end first of all. So we're putting a couple of roofing bolts in on each end. This is simply to give it ballast, to give it weight on the tips so that it spins. Obviously you want the staff as light as possible, but you actually want the ends to be quite heavy. This is obviously to give it extra rotational speed, as opposed to the toothpick style freestyle staffs you can get where the ends are actually less weight, so they're going to spin slower. So the first thing to make sure is that your roofing bolts are a similar diameter, better still slightly smaller than the end of your staff, because obviously you don't want it hanging out over the end. So they're a perfect fit. As I said before, this is an M8 bolt. So an M8 bolt with a 21mm wooden dowel seems to be a perfect sort of size. So next thing to do, we're going to mark the centre of that, just roughly. So I'll put a line across that way, line across that way, and keep going till we get a rough centre line on that. Now when we drill it out, we're not going to go straight down with an M8 drill bit. We're going to start with a small drill bit and work our way up in 3 sizes. If you tend to go in there straight with an 8mm down the middle, the chances of it skewing off to the sides are quite high. So start with a small bit and then open it up as you go. So this is my largest drill bit and my bolt. The bolt we know is an M8, so it's going to have an 8mm pitch thread on it, which is obviously neither here nor there because we're going to be banging it into wood. And the drill bit itself is coming up 7.9, call it 8mm. So it's going to be about the same sort of size, which is perfect. So we're going to start with a small drill bit. This is a 3mm. And then we're going to go out to a 5. And we'll just get a rough idea on our drill bit, how far we need to drill in order to get all the bolt in. So we're going just halfway down the drill bit. And then go in with our 8. Right, try again. There we go, perfect. Now for the other side. And again, the other side. Hole's not quite as central on this one, but as long as the bolt doesn't overlap the edge, then you should be fine. Okay, next job is going to be to start actually wrapping it. Now, obviously, you don't need to wrap anything around it. You could just use that as it is and it'd be absolutely fine. But for a little bit of extra bling, we're just going to use a bit of aluminium tape on it to run it down the length of the shaft, just to make it nice and sparkly, because why not? Obviously, we don't need to do the middle section of the staff because that's going to have a different kind of tape on it anyway, so we just need to do the 2 end sections. Now, most aluminium tape like this comes in a sort of 48 to 50 mil width, which isn't going to be wide enough to actually go around the staff, so you're going to have to do it twice. You'll have to do one side, flip it over, and then do the other side as well. So make sure you've got enough foil tape to do that. This is a 10-meter roll and it's only 99p, so it's pretty cheap to do. So let's get this measured up and see if we can get this on. Okay, so we'll measure and cut at the outside. Don't want to leave it too short. Annoyingly, this tape has been stored on a shelf with other tape on top of it, so it's rolled that edge over, which isn't ideal, but we should be able to flatten that out. Now, when you're peeling the backing off aluminium tape, don't peel it all the way to the end. As soon as you do, that end piece is going to ping off and the tape will want to roll around itself and you'll never get it unstuck, so don't do that. So peel the backing tape off as you go down the length. Okay, so that's that first edge down quite nicely, nice and shiny. Now we've just got to do the missing part in the middle. So just measure, cut and repeat. Now again, once you've got both sides on, you want to go along the edge and really push that out with your thumb. Get all those small creases out of it. You'll always get some creasing in it, but again, this is meant to be a budget project. If you wanted a perfect finish, then there are other ways you could do it. And just repeat that. Right, there we go. So that's both the sides of the tape down. Looks quite nice, quite shiny. Yeah, there's a few creases in it where the joins are, but again, I won't worry about it too much. Now what I need to do is just cut off any excess where I ran over my middle mark down there, just for my own OCD. There we go, so then we need to do repeat on the other side. So we'll skip that bit. And one handy way of getting that tape laid in flat when you're wrapping it around the stick is actually to use the carpet or use the floor to do the wrapping for you. And there we go, that's both ends now wrapped. So now we're going to wrap the middle. And as I said before, for this I'm going to use this Kinesiology tape, which is what athletes and sports people tend to have stuck all over them nowadays. It's very sticky. It's also very, very stretchy. It's actually really nice if you've got injuries or anything. And the back has these square gradients on them as well, so it's quite easy to cut. So we're going to cut a length of that and then wrap it at an angle down along the length of the middle and trim the ends off. So this is pretty straightforward. First of all, let's get an idea of how much we're actually going to need. Remember, it is going to stretch, so we're going to have a little bit left over. We're just getting a rough idea when we cut. Okay, let's start our wraps. And the bit we're looking at, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, is this edge where it's the overlap. There's about a 8 to 10 mil overlap there, and I want to try and keep that overlap consistent as we go down. And also how much you stretch the tape. Try and keep that consistent as well. Right, there we go. So that's both ends of that trimmed up. So that leaves us with a nice square edge on our middle section. They go a little bit furry on the end of the cut there, but that's fine because we're going to cover that join with electrical tape afterwards anyway. Okay, so the last job now is really the decoration with the tape. Again, I've gone with black electrical tape and black tape for the grip. Also, you can use whatever colour you want. If you're a green belt, you might want to use green, etc, etc. So first thing I'm going to do is just I'm going to cover that join. Keep it nice and square and stretch the electrical tape slightly, not too much, but enough. Okay, there we go, both ends taped up. Nice clean finish, and it's going to stop the edge of that tape from puckering up on you. Now if you wanted to, of course, you could put a spiral pattern down the ends. You could put lots of concentric circles. I mean, you can do whatever you want. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cover over the bolts on the ends, A, to stop them flying off, and B, just to make it look a bit neater, and probably put 1 or 2 bands around it as well, and that'll be it for me. So the first thing you need to do is cover that bolt over. So for that, we're going to need to cut a few small rectangular lengths, and then we'll tile it over like so, and then put one piece around to secure it. So let's get those cut now. Okay, so the first one, get it roughly in the middle. Stick it down. Obviously it's not going to go down completely flat because it's cylindrical. But we'll just push the edges of that tape down. We're going to cover the join over later on anyway. So there's one. We'll do another one just off at a slightly different angle. Same thing. Cover it over. Push it down. And then one last one there. Squish it down. Push all your edges down. Again, the bolt's already been glued in, but this is just to give it a little bit of extra protection and just makes the ends a bit tidier. Okay, that's both ends taped up, so we're just going to add one extra stripe just to, well, you know, why not? There we go, so that's the finished piece. Looks alright. So, let's take it outside, give it a spin.